He has been described as short, slight of build, and cross-eyed. He was young, only 25 years old when he arrived in Philadelphia from England in 1739, on his way to set up an orphanage in Savannah, Georgia. But he was a preacher, the likes of which had never been seen before in the colonies. He was George Whitfield, and his sermons would forever change the social and religious landscape of America. The event that Whitfield initiated was called the Great Awakening, and was second only to Martin Luther's Reformation in transforming Christianity. Before Whitfield's arrival, the colonies were predominantly Protestant, divided into sects that were largely hostile to each other. However, Americans at that time were the least church-going people in the Western world. In New England in 1721, 75% of the people shunned the church. Yet thousands came to hear Whitfield, who was a fire and brimstone preacher. Whether he preached from a pulpit or in the field, Whitfield's sermons, delivered in his unique theatrical style, appealed to the emotions and the heart while disdaining any church doctrine. In one of his most notable addresses, Whitfield thundered,
"Father Abraham, who have you in heaven? Any Episcopalians? No. Any Presbyterians? No. Any Independents or Methodists? No, no, no. Whom have you there? We don't know those names here. All who are here are Christians."
Whitfield's revival-style meetings spread throughout the colonies until 1744, when the Great Awakening sputtered to a humble end. But the changes the Awakening brought about continued. The monolithic sect splintered into numerous denominations that were suited to individual preferences. Through this proliferation, they became less hostile to each other, which helped to break down barriers between colonies. The experience of the Great Awakening also cut across class lines, so that people no longer defined themselves in terms of class distinctions. Revival meetings were attended by young and old, rich and poor, educated and illiterate, men and women, and were even open to blacks and Native Americans. The result was social status became more fluid, supporting the purely American philosophy, anyone can make it. The newly enlightened of the Great Awakening turned their attention to education, founding many of today's Ivy League schools, including Princeton and Dartmouth. Science and natural history became acceptable areas of study. All sides of American society, religious and secular, moved towards a separation of church and state. Keep government out of religion, and religion out of government. The Great Awakening also promoted individualism, and voluntary organizations became the favorite way for carrying out programs that have previously been done by the church. This form of political and membership organization flourished in the 19th century and remains a prominent feature of the American landscape. Today, fire and brimstone preachers can still be found on TV or sermonizing under a tent, but never again has American society been dominated by this evangelical style of Christianity, as were the colonies from 1739 to 1744. George Whitfield himself died in Philadelphia in 1770.